Right person with a constant personality and hope to attend this session with utmost fun. I usually read fiction books, and one of my best loved book is Gangsta Granny from the desk of David Volumes.
Okay, wonderful. Hi, Vihan. Lovely to meet you. Next, someone wants to go next. Can you all hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, okay, here. Yeah, lovely to meet you. Let's go with Amaya. Let's keep the intro very small. Don't go a lot. Yeah, just keep it
There are
small.
bits and pieces of yourself scattered in every book you read. A marvelous morning to all. I call myself Amaya and I stepped on the earth on the 8th of April. So I'm attributed with having a charismatic personality. Moreover, I'm definitely an avid reader as I'm fond of reading books like fantasy books and mystery books. Moreover, I love to read Harry Potter books and cannot survive one day without reading them. So, thank you, everybody.
Hi, Amira. Lovely to meet you.
Same here.
Tazib, would you like to go next?
Yes. Hi, Niyatee Sharma ma'am. I'm Tehzeeb Kaur. I just read only one of your books. However, I am a huge fan of you. So basically, by this, you must know that I am an optimistic person who is a bookworm. I am crazy over reading the humorous and heart touching books. So, when I read Mahalaxmi Will Go to Mysore, it was the perfect combination of both the genres. So, I'm really looking forward to this meeting.
Hi, Tazib. Lovely to meet you.
Tasha.
A marvelous morning to Niyatee ma'am and Shavi ma'am. Hi everyone, I'm Tasha Arora. I'm fond of dancing. Mostly I read non-fiction books, and In Cold Blood is one of my favorite books.
All right.
Wonderful. Hi, Tasha.
Niyati, would you like to tell us what kind of reader are you?
Yeah, basically I am like all of you said, I was a bookworm myself. I remember in my childhood, I would pretty much be surrounded by books. And in the summer breaks, I used to literally read a book a day. So yeah, I think during my childhood, I was totally into all the mystery and detective kind of books, Agatha Christie, and of course the famous Five and Enid Blyton and all of those. And then later on, my I think reading interests really changed, and so many wonderful authors that I've read and enjoyed. Some of the books that have always stayed very close to me are one of them is The Book Thief. Yours
Oh,
when you grow up a little bit, I think, yeah. And other than
I think
that,
I've heard.
children's books because that is what gives me the inspiration to write more.
When did you plan to become a writer? Was it a dream from the very childhood, or uh,
So I would say that I was always reading and writing. I used to love back in those days. We used to write letters, so many of them, and I would always be writing for my school journal. At some point, I remember a couple of my articles were published in the newspaper, and that really gave me a boost. And of course, my background is from design, so I was, my main focus was that for many years. And I think after my first child's birth, that is when I really got interested in the world of children's literature, because that's when I discovered Indian children's books, which, when we were growing up, we didn't have many options.
hmm,
And then I actually formally started writing only after my second child's birth. So
wow.
my first book
How
was,
long has it been?
yeah, my first book, which is The Tomato Thief. It's a picture book. This was
Yes.
published in 2017, end of 2017, I would say.
Oh, wow. It's quite recent, I would
Yeah.
say. Perfect. So I would not keep my students waiting. So I think, Tasha, you can ask the best question that you have and you would like to ask Niyati, ma'am. So I'll put you both in spotlight. Yes.
Thank you for giving me opportunity, ma'am.
You most
Why,
welcome.
why Mahalakshmi's father called field trips unnecessary?
Oh, 1 second. I think I should inform the audience that we are talking about Niyatee's book, Mahalaxmi Will Go to Mysore. And yeah, this one, perfect. And students, you can also show the book if it's right in front of you. And this is the book that we're going to talk about, and we're going to have a lot of questions regarding Niyati and, of course, her book. I absolutely loved it. And I think my students too loved it. So we will talk about it. So Tasha's question is related to this book. Tasha, could you please ask this question again?
Why Mahalakshmi's father called field trips unnecessary?
Yeah, so I think since all of you have read the book, you know that one of the main characters in the book, Mahalakshmi, is an RTE child, and which means that she's from an underprivileged background. And so basically there are families for whom, like, the things that some of us would take for granted, may be difficult for such families. So perhaps, just giving Mahalakshmi an education to get her books, stationery, uniform, just these things are, something that is important for them. And anything beyond that would be probably an expense which is unnecessary, which they would, like to hold. And also maybe her father didn't realize that field trips are also really important, right?
Wow. Okay. Great. Tasha, do you think you find the right answer?
Yes, ma'am.
If you have any more questions related to the same question, please feel free to ask again.
Yeah. So that would be great. So now let me ask Amira, why don't you go?
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, I want to ask you a question that I've been waiting to have answered. So, ma'am, what planted the idea of writing the book's title with so much hope, like with such an immense feeling of belief and hope in your mind that Mahalakshmi will go to Mysore instead of writing Mahalakshmi goes to Mysore?
Right, right. Yeah, that's an interesting question. So I think because the title Mahalakshmi will go to Mysore is probably because it's from Ira's point of view. So the story is all about how Ira, she when she discovers that Mahalakshmi is not coming for the field trip, she is not ready to take that no, for an answer, and she just wants Mahalakshmi to come because Mahalakshmi is a part of their class, and she feels that why should she be the only one who's left out, right? So she's really determined to make sure that Mahalakshmi also joins them by hook or by crook. So at that point, she just knows that Mahalakshmi will also come and that the field trip will not happen without her. But how will that happen? That is something that she needed to figure out. So that is what the book is all about. So which is
Okay.
Oh,
I decided to stress on the fact that Mahalakshmi will go. Like we're not going without her, that kind of thing.
yeah.
Yes.
Determination, the strong determination.
Mm.
Perfect. Vihan, do you have a next question?
Ma'am, I'm so fortunate to speak to you, so big writer, and I'm sitting in front of you asking questions.
My privilege to be here.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, how do you find writing books being a mother and a designer?
Yeah, so I would say that I began on this journey of being an author, being a writer, since the time my second child was born. So that is when I took a sabbatical from my work, and that is when I decided to sort of venture into this field of writing for children. And after when I wrote my first book, at that point I was still not very sure about taking this as a proper career. But after my first book was published and the response that I got for it, I was really so excited, and that really gave me the boost to continue. And so I decided to carry on with it. And so I don't formally practice design. I do do certain projects once in a while, but I'm really right now focusing on my writing as a career. So I would say, but my background in design really helps me somehow, in writing. It helps me to imagine stories. It helps me, I think, visually because of it. And it also helps me, like, being a designer, you're trained to solve problems. So, the way of solving problems that helps me to build plots in stories. and to imagine the illustrations, the way they'll come out and all of that. So I think, yeah, it's great to have like design as a background and to also write for children. And yeah, you said being a mother. Well, that's a tough one. You can ask any mother, you can ask your own mother. And doing anything is really tough for mothers. So they really have to sort of, they have to grab the opportunity and they have to literally steal time to do things, which is what I do. I just like,
Yeah.
I steal time to write and
So true. I think they should definitely ask their moms how difficult is it to manage working and the kids and the household as well.
yes,
That is why we say that, the women are multitaskers. They just switch their mind quickly from one place
yes,
to another and one thing to
yes,
the other.
yes. So true.
True. So, Tehzeeb, your next question, please.
Do you think walking away from your best friend because of another person is the right thing to do? Just like Aditi did.
Yeah, that's an
Hmm.
interesting question. So I think, to be honest, in life, this happens to many of us. This is a reality. Sometimes when a very close friend becomes close to somebody else, we feel jealous. These are all natural emotions, right? It is very natural. So I think this is what happened to Aditi. Maybe her reaction was a little too much. Uh, but eventually she realized her mistake, right? Aditi had a change in heart. So I think that's what's important. Sometimes a lot of us will feel different emotions in our life, but eventually, how do we come out of it? How do we cope with these emotions? That is what is important. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, that's an interesting answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I have a personal question. Who's your favorite writer?
Okay. So in terms of children's authors, I think I'll stick to children's author
Yeah, of
because
course.
that's what I think all the other kids would be interested in as well. So I think one of my most favorite Indian children's authors would be Anushka Ravi Shankar and Natasha Sharma. I think you all had probably an interaction with her recently.
Yes, 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 yes,
Yeah,
Natasha. Yes, on Sunday,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
day before yesterday.
Yes, and yeah, I mean, other than that, so many other authors. I mean, it's the list is endless. I love the work of so many authors. Mamta Naini, there's
I
Vaishali
think we
Shaw.
still need to. I think I personally need to explore more of
Yeah,
Indian children's author.
correct,
So,
correct, definitely. Yeah.
yeah. And what about you guys? Who's your favorite children author? Anyone would like to raise hand and say, Myra?
So, ma'am, I'm really fond of J.K. Rowling, and I go bananas when I read her books. They're so fascinating and full of mystery stories. It's like she's woven every page with such love and magic, and it's so wonderful to read it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just wanted to share a little anecdote. I think so the first time when the Harry Potter books came out, I was probably in my first year of college or something, or at least that's when I read the first book, and I was really excited. I read many of them, but when I watched the first movie that came out of Harry Potter, I was very disappointed because when you read your book, when you read the books,
Yeah.
you build up your own imaginations of how things are, and finally when you see the movie you feel like, oh no, this is not doing justice to us, what you imagine is much more wilder. So
Yeah, I know that's true. That's so true. I think most of the people feel the same way when the books are turned into movies and the readers are generally disappointed. No, no, it can't be like that. It was something else in my imagination.
yeah.
True that. And by the way, we are celebrating Harry Potter's Day in the premises this time. So the students, those who don't know, so big fans of Harry Potter, they are most welcome to join us for the event. Okay, anybody else wants to share their favorite children's author? A big fan of something?
I'm
Diyan?
fond of reading books by David Williams. It's so mysterious, and he creates much of the suspense. Like in first of the half of the story, he explains about the plot and all, and suddenly he comes bounces on the story, and I don't know how he creates it, but it's so good.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
My personal favorite is Sudha Murthy. She's there on my vision board as well that I Wish to meet her one day. And I think Sudhamurthy has created a strong impact, not only with her children's book, but also with the books that she writes for adults.
True.
True. Okay, let's go on to the next question. Who wants to go next? Amira?
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, what triggered you to emphasize more about RTE students? So, is it like what incident was the inspiration of this?
Yeah, so I think a couple of like incidences, I would say. One of the things is that the school that my children go to, they do have RT children there, and it's a very inclusive school. It's a very lovely school, and I've in fact I've interacted with these, some of these kids personally. Um, and apart from that, and sometimes my daughter would come back home with certain kind of details and observations about, like usually children come back home and tell moms about all of their friends. So I would notice how her observations about, this particular friend of hers would be different from everyone else. And apart from that, like, I have conversations with many people. So like, for example, the person, the cook who, comes to my house to help us, her daughter, she got into a school as an RTE, into the RTE quota. So I was
Yeah.
speaking to her about her experiences. What are the good parts? What are the drawbacks? Like what are the challenges she faced being an RTE student and going into a private school and things like that. And apart from that, I also read many other books that really inspired me. There's a book called Dear Mrs. Naidu. I think all of you, if you're in eighth grade, you will really enjoy it. You should read that. There's another book called Savitri by Phule and I. So these are some of the books which really, like, these are books which inspired me to kind of write about this topic. Yeah. So several
Great.
factors leading to
Several
this.
factors. True.
Yes.
Tasha?
Yes, ma'am. The game you mentioned in your book, did you also play Lagori in your childhood?
Yeah. No, I have not played Lagori in my childhood, but I played it much later as an adult. So I played it in my children's school. In fact, once they had a
Wow.
like a traditional games, mela kind of an event where they only played traditional games. And so that's when I played it. I think I might have played it in my childhood because these games are very common. But yeah, because I do remember playing some games with stones and corners, and so there were many games. Yeah, I think. But as when we were kids, we definitely played many more games which were like outdoors, and I even remember playing with marbles a lot with my elder brother. So
I think we
yeah,
all did.
I think, and kabaddi. I used to be great at kabaddi. In fact, I used to be one of the best kids. So we used to play a lot of
Wow.
these games. Yeah.
How often do you guys play these outdoor games now? I think most of them they go to academies and play professionally rather than playing these games outside. Do you do that? Tehzeeb, Amira, Tasha, Vihan?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Yes?
So,
Okay, I'm glad. Because I remember doing it a lot in my childhood, but I don't see my daughter playing these games outside.
Yeah. So which is exactly the point of bringing these games into the book,
Yeah,
to kind of get children excited about playing these kind of games.
true, true, true.
You all should
Okay.
play whenever you all meet next. You should play the game.
All right, done. We'll do that in the classroom. Vihan, what's the next question that you have in mind?
Mom, why did you only choose Mysore as a place, as a plot for your story? You could use Delhi or Bombay as well.
Yeah. So yeah. So I'm from Bangalore. I mean, I live in Bangalore, and basically, when there are field trips, the schools in from Bangalore they go to places which are in south, essentially nearby. So, like my son recently went to this place called Tiruvannamalai, which is in Tamil Nadu. So, I think Mysore is a very well-known place, which
Yes.
everybody would have heard of, and it's close to Bangalore. So that is why I decided on Mysore.
So it's for the writer, it is always the surroundings that inspire them to or to bring in those elements in the books.
Yeah.
That's what I feel. It's
Yeah.
something, even the plot is something related to their personal scenarios, maybe just twist and turns to make it turn it into a book. But otherwise, they are all inspired from the real life events that keep happening around you, and especially the mentality and the thought process.
That's very true. I think we writers, we roam around with this invisible camera, and we're always constantly making notes of, people around us, things around us, what's happening, and, like noting down little things for like, okay, I'm going to add this in my book.
Absolutely, absolutely true. Tehzeeb, let's have a next question.
Should moms teach their children to stay away from other kids because they come from a village or a slum? Don't you think that's creating discrimination?
Yeah, exactly. It definitely, would bring about discrimination. So I would say that, children do not have these ideas of their own, but they sometimes grasp it from, people around them, maybe adults around them. Sometimes it could be from their parents or their grandparents or some other relative in the family, or somebody they've heard. So because children often emulate adults, right? So these kind of ideas, they just, so that's why I would say that, as adults, you should always be very conscious about what you're talking in front of children, because children just grasp it, right? They're like sponges. So I would say that somewhere this idea could have been planted by somebody, in Aditi's family. Maybe she didn't really think of it herself. But I think what's important is that, okay, you have somebody like Ira who's challenging her views and making her see the right way. So I think
Yeah,
that's what's
that's true.
important, right? When you sometimes, if you feel that maybe one of your friend is, trying to bring up a point which you feel is not fair, then you should definitely raise your voice, and you should try to make that person understand why it's wrong.
Yes, ma'am.
True. I can recall one particular episode. So I obviously used to stay with my grandfather a lot, and he used to talk about how the partition of India happened and how he moved from Pakistan to Punjab and started living over here. And he always considered Muslims not to be good people. So
Hmm.
that kind of notion that existed in his mind, and so was there in me too. Like the Pakistanis are not kind-hearted, or they are a totally different type of being. So when I started in the UK, I used to live with Pakistanis and a lot of Muslims, and I just realized over there, being an individual myself, that they are the people like us. They
Hmm.
are from gone from our country, and we are living in two different countries, but we have a similar mindset, same food habits, and even the dialect, the language is quite similar. We can easily communicate with each other. Our thought process, our feelings, and even fulfilling the traditions of marriage or everything is so similar. I in fact converted into documentary sort of a thing with one of my friends. So I used to be the only girl living with all the Pakistani boys and cooking food together and eating. So I created a documentary because I was a journalist then. I was pursuing journalism in Cardiff. So I created a small documentary talking about how the young minds in Punjab specifically, because that was the place that was most affected due to the partition,
Hmm.
how the brain and the mindset is built for Pakistanis, and how eventually, when you're gaining your own individuality, you tend to learn something new. And I think I rectified my opinion immediately then. We cannot generalize things based
Yeah.
on certain incidents that are happening. So I clearly remember that. And I remember, getting this documentary published in Huffington Post as well. So I think that was quite talk of the town in 2011. So does that happen to you as well, kids? Talking, a mindset that has been built by your parents, and when you've been growing up and something has changed in your mind, particularly. Have you realized it so far? Anything that has happened, given a notion by your parents and you don't believe in it, your opinion is different from your parents then?
Ma'am, not really. Me and my parents, we share an open-minded personality, and we also treat everybody as equals and don't care about the religion.
Ah, wow, that's great. That's good to know. Okay, so let's move on. And Amira, your second question. Everybody has asked the second question, right? So, Niyati, would you like to continue this session, or let's take a pause over here? Or we can have one more question each.
You can continue. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, let's continue then. Who would like to go next for the next question? Okay, Amaya.
So, ma'am, how did the idea of bamboo toys appear in your mind for your story?
Right, that's a
So,
very
also make that.
yeah. So, in fact, I have had many interactions since this book came out in October last year, but nobody's asked me this question before, so that's really exciting. So, actually, I would say that once I went to this like it was a sustainability eco-friendly event where one of the activities was that they had invited this artist who was making these bamboo palm leaf toys rather. And so me and my children, we participated and they taught us to make several things. I think my daughter made a dancing man, and we made spectacles, and we made a fish and several things. And the person who was making it, he was so quick with it. He had actually come from a village. And he was so quick with his hands, and we, all of us, the rest of us, we took so much time to understand that, and and that really made me thinking that how some people are so good with their skills and their crafts. And yeah, so I think even in around Bangalore, I've seen people making a lot of things with family. They even make screens out of it. They make baskets. So I think somewhere I made a connection and I said, okay, let's have, because I wanted Mahalaxmi to do something very unique and very different from the rest of the people in the class. So in fact, I have a little thing. This is not made by me, but I thought I'll just show it to you. It's
Oh, wow.
it's like a little decorative thing made out of palm leaf, but this is dried up palm leaf, and then they've colored it. But if you make it using the fresh palm leaves, which are green in color, then I mean, then it'll be like green in color, the whole toy, whatever you make. So yeah, I just thought I'll show it.
Yeah, that's so pretty.
So they're used in several places. People make baskets, people make fans, you make screens, So, and being, again, being a designer, these are the things that really catch my interest. So somewhere I had that at the back of my mind and I decided to use it in the book.
All right. Okay, so Desi.
Having a supportive teacher is important. Do you think Ira and her friends would be able to raise all that money if it wasn't for the support of Madhu ma'am?
Yeah, I think definitely, right? You need supportive teachers. In fact, you need teachers who sort of go outside their sort of the box, the regular box, and go out of their way to kind of take opinions from students and make those ideas work, make those ideas happen. I think these kind of teachers can really bring about a great impact. In fact, some of these teachers will always stay in the hearts of children, and they will always remember these kind of teachers even when they grow up and when they pass out of school. And I think, yeah, so this character of Madhu ma'am was definitely a very supportive and encouraging character. And without, I think, the help of Madhu ma'am, probably Ira and her friends would have tried to do something individually, maybe at their homes, and they would have just probably got a little bit of, uh, money that they were trying to raise. But with this brilliant collaboration with the teachers and the students, they could convert this into a wonderful event which everybody enjoyed, right? The students enjoyed, the teachers enjoyed, the parents also enjoyed, and they could actually get more money than they needed. So yeah, I think definitely you should have more teachers who kind of support the ideas of students. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes,
So there is always one teacher that will stay in your heart forever. I think that's with every single kid. They
Yeah,
transform your life in a beautiful way.
yeah.
So that's why we say teachers have a bigger responsibility on them. They're shaping the future of the country,
Absolutely.
right? So Tasha, let's have a next question.
Yes, ma'am. Can you explain the friendship between Ira and Mahalakshmi?
Yeah, this is again an interesting subject. I would say that at first when Ira like noticed Mahalakshmi, and she noticed that okay, she's different from the rest of the children. And typically, what happens in schools is, when somebody's new, somebody's from a different background, they also themselves feel very intimidated, right, to go and join the rest of the kids. And somehow not a lot of kids will go and actually make that first move and, try to be inclusive to them. So I think Ira, at first, she's just very curious about Mahalakshmi, and then she goes and she just like sits next to her and starts talking to her. But eventually, as they kind of, spend a few days together, she realizes that Mahalakshmi is so much fun, right? And she started teaching her so many different things, which Gira didn't know. Like she taught her how to like climb trees and to turn cartwheels, and then she eventually started teaching everybody how to play this new game, Lagori. So I think that's the beauty of this friendship, that when you make friends with somebody from a diverse background, that person is going to bring so much more to the table. Like that person is going to bring new things into the environment. So you should always encourage, you should always go and
Definitely.
meet people from different backgrounds, talk to them, try to find out. You'll always end up learning something from them, right? Or you'll end up
I
teaching thing to them.
Exactly. And I think it talks a lot about Ira's character also, that she herself was a person who would like to learn new things, and she was captivated by that interest the most. We try to hang out in the people in the same circle, same mindset, I would
Hmm.
say, and we try to be in our comfort zone rather than trying and interacting with new people. But this showcases Ira's personality, that she wanted to learn new things in her life. And that's how, making friends is the excellent opportunity. You're having fun, and at the same time, you're just exploring yourself as a different person. So I think it talks about Ira's motivation also to learn new things and be more active there.
And also the aspect of language, right? Like perhaps there you'll meet somebody who doesn't know your language so well, but that still is hardly a reason to not try to be friends with them, or try to get to know them. So I think language is hardly a barrier, right? You can always get away and uh,
Yeah.
create a friendship.
True, true, true. Vihan, what about you?
What inspired you to write the story, and was any part of the story related to your own life?
Yeah, interesting question. So I would say that, yeah, there was an incident which kind of sparked the seed, which kind of sowed the seed of the idea for the book. So one day, my daughter, when I think she was really young, maybe she was in her first grade or something, I can't remember. But she came back home from school, and she noticed that how some of her friends were discriminating against a particular girl. And one of her friends actually told her that don't play with this particular girl because she's dark and she doesn't know English. So my daughter came home and she told me, and she herself realized that it's wrong, and because she was hanging out with that girl. And so then we had this whole conversation about how skin color hardly matters, right? I mean, you are not your skin color. You are much more than that. You are what you are inside, right? And you are what you can do. And about language, again, like I said, that maybe somebody else might look at you and say, oh, she doesn't know Kannada, or she doesn't know Punjabi, or she doesn't know, Gujarati. Like, so, I mean, it's just a matter of perspective. So I think that conversation stayed in my mind, and that's when I decided to create this whole fictional story around. So basically, that conversation was the start point of this book, I would say.
Uh, Yes, absolutely true. I think, do you ever, in Punjab particularly, that's what I've observed from my surrounding, that people consider English language as their status symbol. Of anyone who's not able to communicate that well in English, they try to just make fun of the other person. Or, being an English teacher myself, I do not promote this kind of ideology, that anyone who's not able to speak, that is why he's learning this language. And we should not, even communication is not specifically to be in English. It can be in any other language as well. It's just how expressive and how well you can explain about yourself or your feelings to others. And discriminating on the part of language is, I feel that it exists in Punjab. Would you agree with me? The students, all of them are from Ludhiana, Punjab. So do you think it's true or not true?
Ma'am, not always, but yeah.
It does exist in Ludhiana that, people consider it to be a status symbol.
Hmm.
If anyone is able to, they try to, even, it's not only the one who's communicating English, it's also the other way around. The person who is unable to express himself or herself well in English, they feel that they are inferior. They also stop building connections with anyone who do not speak their language. So I think it's both ways, it's both sides. I don't want to hang out in that group because everybody talks in English. Maybe you have a similar mindset, but just language becomes a barrier, and they also take a back step, and they also start feeling superior of themselves when they try to communicate in English. I think we need to bridge that gap and bring in similarities, more similarities, and that is why people, especially people of my age or the ones those who are older than me, they tend to be reluctant to learn a new language. Um, for example, English, they don't want to learn it, or they just don't want to be in the group where everybody's communicating in English. And that's what I keep saying them, that it's okay if you cannot say anything, if you cannot speak. It's all right, it's not your native language. And if you can communicate in Punjabi so well, what's the harm? You should be more confident about the personality that you carry in, be it in any language.
Absolutely. I think one should always be very proud of your roots. Yes, definitely. You
Yes.
can go and learn five other languages. You can go and learn French. You can go and learn Japanese. But you should always be very
Yes.
proud of your roots and where you come from, right? The culture, the language, everything.
Yes. Yes. Learning a language, it consider English to be not a status symbol, but just a language, and it just build another skill in your brain. So it's a skill that you can carry, and it activates so many other things in your brain. It helps you be more outspoken and be more creative.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say. Do you have any last questions, everyone? Anyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, Tehzeeb.
Mahalakshmi and Ira had a strong bond. What would happen to Mahalakshmi's art if Ira did not give her the pencil colors?
Yeah. That was a particular chapter in the book which basically spoke about the differences in the stationery and the differences in the little things that sometimes children may
Yeah.
see. It may happen to any of you, right? Like one day your friend might come with this brand new set of markers, and which you wouldn't have, and then you'd feel bad that, oh my God, I wish I had it, and your parents don't approve of it. They say, no, we are not going to buy it. So I think, yeah, that happens to all children. But I think what's good is that, if you can share with each other, right? If you can share what you have with others, I think definitely if Ira hadn't shared her color pencils with Mahalakshmi, she would have been very discouraged. Maybe she wouldn't have felt like uh, drawing for the next couple of classes because, yeah, maybe she was feeling bad about not having a few colors in her own set, and she wanted to make that drawing with those colors which she didn't have. So, yeah, I think.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't you agree that it's nice to share, right, with your friends?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So I have the last question from all the students. How would you recommend this book to your friends and why?
You
Who wants to
asking this?
go first?
You asking this to the
From
students?
to the students, yes.
Okay, yeah,
To the
yeah.
students, yeah.
Good question.
Amira, whom would you recommend it to and why? Amira.
So, ma'am, I recommend this book to all my classmates and everybody else because it's a beautiful book in which it is imbibed that it is always right to help people and to also maintain equality around the world because there are some members of the society who do not agree with spreading equality and they want to add differences between people. So, I
Hmm.
just wanted to share it with the young youth of our society so that they abolish this rule in our community.
All right. Anybody else wants to say? Rihan?
Wonderful answer, Myra.
I would totally recommend this book to my brother and to my mother as well. So my mother, as sometimes she says that okay, you can play with some kids, but don't go with so bad kids that are always roaming on the road and so. But and my brother, because he says I don't have this, but I want this. Uh, he
Ah,
he doesn't like feel that I have this, but they don't have. But he feels like उनके पास ये है, but I don't have that
Hmm.
particular thing. So that
ah,
creates this thing.
Yeah, interesting.
definitely. Good answer. Tasha?
I would recommend this to my classmates as this is a beautiful book that they can read and understand the friendship but and unity that if we are one, no one can distinguish us.
Yeah, wonderful.
Ah, absolutely. Tehzeeb?
Ma'am, I would recommend this book to my classmate because there's one girl in my class, Anshika, who has a boycott and she's always getting bullied because everybody says, "Oh, look at her, she's a boy," and then like that's not unity. So I would definitely recommend this book, which will make them realize that they were wrong. That we shouldn't judge a book by its cover, and we should always help people.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah. I
Wonderful.
think children get bullied for so many reasons, right? Like somebody may get
Hmm.
bullied, he or she's fat. Somebody may get bullied because you wear spectacles. I mean, all kinds of uh, reasons. And most of
Yeah,
them,
true.
yeah, most of them are like
Irrelevant.
harmless reasons. So, yeah, that's an important point.
I think at this age, if you understand that you do not have to get bullied or get affected by the comments that your peer pass on you, don't let that get yourself affected with it. I think that's more important, and you understand what bullying is and how to avoid that and how to cope up with that. And that's what you have to recommend to the other classmates of yours or your friends, that you should not get affected by all these, frivolous comments, I would say.
Yeah.
True. So, Niyati, how was the session for you? Did you enjoy talking to the students?
Absolutely, I loved it. Thank you so much, all of you, for reading the book, and I loved all the questions that you all asked me. It's really, I think this is the best part about being an author, interacting with children who have read your book. That is really, I'm telling you, that's the best part about being an author. It's
Yeah,
much
I know
more,
that brings.
yeah, it's much more satisfying than writing the book itself because
Wow.
somebody has read it so carefully, and uh, asking me these questions. It's really it's very encouraging for me as an author. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Niyati, for your time. And I'm sure all the students thoroughly they enjoyed the session. I personally did. I love interacting. And you all came up with interesting questions. Trust me on that. I was quite impressed with the questions that you framed. And I think we went into every deep corner of the book. And we
Yeah.
have given a great message to the audience as well. Thank you, Niyati. Thank you, all my students, for putting in your time and effort. I hope we keep conducting such sessions. And Niyati, any book recommendation that you would give to the students now? Any of your book or in general?
Yeah, I think there are so many books. I mean, I wish I could. Yeah, I think I would recommend all of you to read Dear Mrs. Naidu. It's a very nice book. You should.
Okay, you did mention about it in the session. Yeah, we'll read that. Uh, Dear Mrs. Naidu, and any of your book that we should read?
Well, most of my other books are picture books. I'll just quickly
Okay.
like show them to you.
I
But
think I think they have younger siblings, so they
yeah,
can definitely recommend it to
yeah,
them. The Tomato Thief.
the tomato flood. So some of them are like based on gardening, basically, inspired by
Oh,
children. There are these two characters in the book who are growing like lots of vegetables. They're growing their own food in their garden. So these are books kind
wow.
of based on that. And then I have like, yeah, one of the book is called What Can I Be? This is
Wow.
an interesting book which talks about different offbeat career choices. And this is in
Oh,
Hindi.
you've written. Wow.
I mean, this book got translated in 9 languages, but I have run out of English. So
Oh, nice.
the English version is called The Runaway Peacock. This is published by Tulika. And
Okay.
so this is an imaginary story. So I think, yeah,
Wow, perfect.
you can check these out for your younger siblings or anyone.
I'll do that for my daughter, definitely. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time. We had a great session today. Hope to
Thank
see
you,
you
ma'am.
again,
Thank you,
Niyati.
ma'am.
Thank you so
Bye.
much for having me over, and I wish all of you all the very best. Keep reading, and yeah,
Thank you.
yes.